Hey, I'm Hannah Weiss, the Director of Education at the Science Museum of Western Virginia, and this is your Moment of STEM. And this week, well, the Amazon rainforest is kind of on fire. Of course, when I say that, I don't mean that the entirety of the rainforest is on fire, but I do mean that there have been a number of small and not so small blazes seen in this rainforest. In fact, the number is up an incredible amount since 2013, which is when kind of recording and measuring of these fires have happened. And this is not a good thing, in part because, well, the Amazon rainforest is not an ecosystem that's adapted to fire. You see, it's very different than some of the ecosystems we see in the United States, such as in Florida or California, where seasonal fires are part of the lives of those animals and plants. Now, the Amazon rainforest really shouldn't see many, if any, fires at all. The animals and plants that live there are not adapted, don't survive in fire. So then where did these fires come from? In answering that question, it gets a little kind of murky. One of the leading ideas or thoughts as to where these fires are from is from people living in Brazil. And by the way, the entirety of the Amazon rainforest is not in Brazil, but a large portion of it is. So a lot of people who are living in Brazil are burning down parts of the rainforest in order to create land, clear land that they can use for agriculture, for crops like soybean and cattle. And this is largely thought to even be supported by the current president of Brazil, who has very pro-business kind of alliances. He really, part of his platform was even on finding money in the Amazon, which is okay. But it does mean that a lot of sections of it have been burned down, which is kind of where some of this fear comes in, right? Because the Amazon, beyond just losing parts of it, where we have all this incredible biodiversity, animals and plants that we may not have even have discovered yet, which when parts of it get burned, we may lose forever. There's also a big fear that burning down the Amazon could have an effect on climate change. Because the Amazon right now is a huge carbon sink. It holds a lot of carbon. In fact, some scientists even estimate that we really need to maintain and even rebuild parts of the Amazon in order to meet carbon emission goals by 2030. So if we're burning down parts of the Amazon, we're taking this carbon sink and potentially even turning it into a carbon source, drastically increasing emissions. But there's another fear, right? And that's this thing called dieback. Because the Amazon rainforest almost creates a microclimate. The really tall trees, they take up a bunch of water and release it, but they also release pheromones, which creates places for this water to kind of hold onto and fall back down. And almost kind of creates a feedback loop where it rains. But if we burn down these tall trees and we don't have them releasing all of that stuff into the air, it could mean less rain. And if there's less rain, it means that it's a lot harder for those tall trees to survive, so they might die back. Some studies even suggest that if we lose a critical portion of the Amazon, it's not just the portions that have been burned we're looking at losing. It's potentially much bigger areas as the Amazon becomes a different ecosystem, like a forest, or some people even suggest a savanna or grassland type area, which is really not good, because potentially up to like 20% of our oxygen, the stuff that we kind of need to breathe to live, could come from the Amazon. So the Amazon burning down is not only bad because we're losing animals and plants, we're potentially releasing tons of carbon into the air and affecting the climate of our planet. And if you'd like to know more about the fires in the Amazon or ways that you can help, you can check out any of the links below. Otherwise, I'm Hannah Weiss from the Science Museum of Western Virginia, and I really encourage you to check out these links. Donate if you can, but if you can't, another huge way that you can make a difference is by cutting back on your beef consumption, because a lot of these fields are being used for cattle. And if there's anything that I've learned from Captain Planet, is that the power is yours. Very little things can make a huge difference.